Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs, president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated on a beautiful fall day. So football season is 1 month in to process, and I am sitting here in the Golden Mastermind Seminar Studio. Just came out of a steam room. For those of you who know what that is and what that can do for you, it is a massive detox. I'm just getting here in the saddle in the Golden Mastermind Seminar Studio. And if you look behind me, you'll see my walls of fame, pictures on my wall of people that I've coached, bookcases, multiple bookcases around. There's some artwork from Kira Fairchow. Kira Fairchow, the world-renowned Montana artist. I have a giant painting in my room from her, and I'm going to cover this afternoon accessing your power on command. So for those of you who have read this book or own this book, this is called Power versus Force. Zarek, awesome to have you here today and great to coach with you today, you and Jared. So good to be here with you on a beautiful fall day in Central California. So Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. Book was written in 1996. That was David Hawkins' first book, the first book that I bought by David Hawkins. I bought it 10 years later in 2006 in Walnut Creek, California. Jeff Cregan, good to see you. Jeff says he is producing and creating he's creating projects in a relaxed body. Congratulations. That's Mr. Jeffery Cregan, who is a top-tier sales professional in real estate in South Florida. Look up Jeff Cregan and follow him. Jared and Zarek, he's definitely a man of influence that you want to follow. And Jeff, Jared, and Joshua and Zarek are all young superstar entrepreneurs in Josh Waxman's team, also in South Florida. So 4 people are on the Facebook Live today, and all 4 of you from South Florida. What are the odds of that? Very high. So good to see you. Joshua, thank you for being here this afternoon. So I'm going to cover today what the term power means. Power doesn't mean you're a power lifter, and what you're lifting is you're lifting your ego away from you. You're like letting your ego go. So there's no power lifting here today. What power is the ability to access your self-esteem. And your self-esteem is the energy where you are good enough, you are lovable, you are capable, and you are in your power. And in your power, you're in true humility. Any of those of you who are practicing or have practiced the 12 steps of recovery or the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous or any healing modality, any of you that are practicing that, step number 8 and step number 9 is forgiveness, making amends, which is a component of your power. Also, step 1 is you're surrendering, you're letting go of your ego, you're letting go, and you're surrendering to God. And that is step number 1 in any 12-step program. And Hawkins breaks down the 12-step program in here, he calibrates, and the 12-step programs calibrate extremely high, well over the 400 cycles per second. So, and Nikki, good to see you here this afternoon. Nikki is from Canada and joining me, a new coaching client. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Josh, thank you for bringing your team here this afternoon on this beautiful fall day in Central California. I'm in the flow and I'm in the zone today. I have been producing in a relaxed body all through the month of September, through all the situations that you see happening in the world, which are also called trauma-based mind control. I've been down this rabbit hole for 40 plus years, starting with the movie The Manchurian Candidate, and then reading the trilogy by Robert Ludlum, The Bourne Identity, The Bourne Supremacy, and The Bourne Ultimatum. So I read all 3 of those books, and those books are what that book references is Ultra MK42, and that would be Monarch. So that means that there are people that are used in the world as trauma-based mind control victims, and they're used to seduce us and to keep us off course. That would be actors, entertainers, athletes, and people we tend to over-idolize, and then when we spend our time down the wrong rabbit hole, we end up not being productive in a relaxed body. We spend too much time looking over there at what is called problem, reaction, solution. We're not focusing right here on our solution. We're not focusing on what's happening in the world over there that is the great diversion. And this is why your focus and your discipline are a major component of your power. And if you're not in your power, then what you are in is force. And if you are in force, you'll attract a counterforce, which is someone to be in opposition with, someone to lead you down the wrong rabbit hole, someone that will seduce you into shiny objects and other situations that will keep you out of your power. That's why your consciousness and awareness, and I was coaching a client today and teaching her the value of understanding the truth. Because if you're not in the truth, Amber, good to see you this afternoon. So if you're not accessing truth or you're not downloading the truth, then what you're in is some level of denial. And through the educational system, through the McGraw-Hill books, which are owned by Robert Maxwell, if you know who that is, he is an agent of a 3-letter agency in a foreign country. And you may know who his daughter is, Jelaine. So that'll give you a little hint. So McGraw-Hill textbooks, the medical platform of the 1920s with the Rockefeller Foundation took over, and they did away with all holistic and naturopathic medicine. And if you look now, Peter Thiel is about to unleash the new cancer vaccine. So beware of the pale horse, what that means, a cancer vaccine. And notice that the cancer vaccine is being dripped when all these other diversions are going on in the world right now. That's why it's very important that you are focused, disciplined, you're in the solution, you're creating results that are impactful for you and your family, and you are being able to attract your reality, quality, like-minded success seekers, teammates, and importantly, people who believe what you believe. So your products, your services, and your benefits and features, you have to be able to sell from power, not from force. And that doesn't mean you're overpowering your prospect. It means that you're in your power. You're listening to them. You can tell if they're a serious qualified buyer. You can tell if they qualify for your time. Now, this is applicable in everything you do. This is applicable in dating, attraction marketing. This is applicable in team building. This is applicable if you're hiring a vendor or a contractor. You want to be able to attract people who believe what you believe, people who can deliver, people who live in higher consciousness, people who are in levels of recovery and sobriety, people who access higher consciousness, people who understand the healing codes. The healing code to the biological apocalypse was written by an acquaintance of mine. He was a co-author of that book, Dr. Joey Paleo, and unfortunately he disappeared in a car accident in Sandpoint, Idaho, many, many years ago. So if you understand what I know, you know what that will mean. So if you're just joining me this afternoon, the topic is accessing your power. I want to say hello to Rachel, Nikki, Amber, and Diane, who are all female entrepreneurs I have the privilege of coaching, and thank you for being here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon in Central California. It's not to be confused. People will say I live in Northern California. I don't. I live 7 hours from the Oregon border. That is truth. So for me to say I live in Northern California, that is false. I live in Central California, and I live 7 hours from the border. I live 75 miles east of San Francisco in the beautiful San Joaquin Valley, which stays warm year-round. And it allows me to produce on command in beautiful weather in a relaxed body. I took a walk around my block, 4 blocks, after exercise, 100 push-ups, and other modalities of production this morning. Being and staying productive in a relaxed body, that is your objective. Not to get taken off course, but to be able to course correct when you find yourself off course. Edgar Rios, good to see you this afternoon. It's a longtime follower, honored to have you here. I believe you were referred to me by Dale, perhaps, way back in the day, or from Louisiana, but thank you, Edgar. I know you followed me for many, many, many years. Josh Waxman has followed me for 11 years, as Diane Hunt. And Diane Hunt and Josh both found me in the same year, 2014. And if you're on today's Facebook Live, the content is being able to access your power. I found this book in 2006. It's called Power versus Force. Chapter 8 is one of the best breakdowns I've ever read about what it means to be in your power. Now, you may have heard the term empower, and I used to own a corporation called Empower You Now. It was a publishing company. You want to be able to empower your teammates, be in your power, stay in your power, access your power. Your power ultimately is your emotional etheric energy. It is your humility. It is your ability on command to attract your reality, quality, like-minded, then you fill in the blank. Vendors, contractors, success seekers, customers, clients, people of influence, affluence, people that are connectors and mavens that can introduce you to multiple other connectors. If you are building a leveraged business, which most of you are, either through internet marketing, direct sales marketing, influencing, affluencing, real estate, insurance, coaching, teaching, whatever the situation is, you're going to require customers, clients. If you are going to date men or women, it's also going to be your responsibility to be able to be front in your power when you're attracting the people you're looking for, so you don't give your power away. When you're giving your power away, you're compromising your own integrity. You're enabling, you're over-obligating, you're doing more for others than you do for yourself, and then you're practicing, you're over-giving, and then what that ends up happening is you typically don't get the reciprocal effect because you're coming from force, not power. Now, if you're in power and you're out there, you're fanfare for the common man, and you're out there, you're giving and serving, and you don't have any expectations from it back, well, that's a different modality. John Collins, good to see you here this afternoon on Tuesday, Facebook Live. So once again, if you're new to my content, this is a book I've been reading since 2006. It's called Power versus Force. 19 years that I've been scanning that book. Chapter 8 it's called The Source of Power, and will greatly assist you to understand. And if you did get the email in your email inbox, so the beginning of power starts with higher consciousness right here. Higher consciousness is the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. You're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that keep you in dis-ease in your body. The healing code of the body is beginning a different neurochemical is beginning to be released in your body. So you're tapping into the healing codes of the body, and the body can heal itself. It can eradicate and eliminate a lot of the diseases that the medical community leads you to believe that will require you to have medication and surgeries. Now, there are medications and surgeries that will be valuable. That is for you to determine what is best for your body. So recently stepped away without attachment. Thank you. So John has been a long-term follower and several-year client of mine. So what John is accessing is also called non-attachment. Non-attachment is a very misunderstood topic. It's seldom written about, and the only two people that I've ever seen who cover the content are David Hawkins, myself, and then Melody Beatty covered it in a book called Codependent No More. However, she used the chapter 5. That chapter was on detachment. I have later come to understand that detachment comes from anger, and it also comes from detachment comes from anger, and it also comes from apathy. So when you're detaching, you're saying screw you. When you're non-attached, you're able to operate fully in life without any attachment. And the more that you are in your power, the more you're able to let go of control, the more you're able to let go of being right, the more you're able to let go of holding on to situations that no longer empower you. And when you are confused and in doubt and overwhelmed, you've given your power away. When you're prospecting, communicating with people, conversing with people, and you're in a state of uncertainty, your communication style will be filled with guess, kinda, I don't know, probably, and like. And when you're communicating like that, telepathically, emotionally, or it's coming out of your mouth, you're letting people know that you're not good enough, you're not in your power, and you're in force. And the more that you let go of force and you surrender and you're able to sit down at a desk, or you're able to produce results on command, you're able to write the content and push the send button, you're able to do a video without anxiety about the outcome, you're able to talk to someone of influence or affluence without creating a story around the situation, then you're in your power. And your power will also allow you to access the gamma brainwave state. The gamma brainwave state is the chill factor. When you're in gamma, you're in the flow. And when you're in the flow, you're in your absolute power. This is when business and people come to you. then this creates synchronicity. And synchronicity on command, the question is it a coincidence or is it your reality that you are manifesting? Well, that is for you to determine that as you become skilled in attraction and in your power, people will begin to show up. This is a phenomenon that must be experienced, not explained. You'll understand the explanation as you begin to experience synchronicity more frequently. Synchronicity broken down is an occlusal alignment of situations, people, events that line up, and then it puts you in the know. So if you think about your grandmother and she calls you, is that a coincidence or is that your skill of attraction? Well, that's for you to determine, but when you become really good at this situation, it will begin to line up for you frequently, and then you will have back-to-back days. One of the main ways you can access your power quicker than any other solution is to understand the subconscious and the unconscious. If your subconscious rules your body, you will continue to avoid and procrastinate. If your subconscious is a good intention with a poor delivery, that means that you're living in anxiety, fear, and doubt. To course correct that situation is to access courage. The courage to be honest with yourself about why you do what you do. The acceptance that this is what I do, and the ability to create the simple, subtle changes through willingness. So it's courage, acceptance, willingness. That's the trifecta, followed by forgiveness and gratitude. Now, these two topics, forgiveness and gratitude, are seldom written about. In the hundreds of books I own in my library, I only have one book on forgiveness. That's Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tippin, and I have his workbook. And then to practice not only forgiveness, but gratitude, be grateful. Very few people understand that gratitude is anchored in humility. When you are in humility, you now have the ability to be grateful. And this is why when you compliment someone, they don't even hear you. They just keep talking. So I will say, excuse me, did you understand I just complimented you? I will point it out to people. Oftentimes they're shocked because they didn't hear it. And they don't hear it because they don't expect to hear it, because their body is ruled by pain. And when your body is ruled by pain, which is the 4 traumas, which is sexual, physical, emotional, and generational, when that is in your neurological network of neurons that wire and fire, then you will have challenges selling, attracting a teammate, soulmate, vendors and contractors who will show up in time, that will build you fairly. And see, when you live in the low vibrational energy, you'll attract people who violate you, people who don't follow through, people who don't send you the bill, people who take advantage of you. This happens very frequently in real estate if you're not skilled in as a talent scout and assessing the talent, attracting the right people, and then building a network of people that you can do business with. When you continue to hold on to relationships that are dysfunctional, that don't serve you, you're in force. And so you're the counterforce to the other person's force, which then gives you permission to feel violated, disappointed, frustrated. And when you live in this frustration, disappointment energy, you'll keep attracting the same situation to fulfill the same set of feelings. And then the ego, when the mouth moves, says, nobody's going to buy from me. There's no quality leads out there. There's no men or women who are in alignment with me. This is what we'll continue to say over and over to fulfill the neurochemical craving of being emotionally addicted to a set of feelings. Attraction is a skill, and the skill of attraction begins with humility. That's the foundation. It's anchored in recovery, sobriety, and higher consciousness. Humility is your ability to not feel rejected or disappointed by anyone else. In true humility, you are practicing non-attachment. You are not attached to the outcome. You realize that if your mother is using guilt to try and control you, and you're able to exit that conversation, then you won't feel guilty from her trying to guilt you, because you're not responsible for her. And when you have that skill set, you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. Here's an automatic tell we can tell someone isn't in their power. When they ask you a question, you answer the question, then they yeah but you. That means they're already ahead of the conversation, looking for a rebuttal. So that means that they want to spar with you. They want to put you in a position to validate, justify, and explain yourself. And in true humility, you can exit this conversation in power without feeling like you did anything wrong, or you got in trouble, or you made a mistake, or you said the wrong thing, and then you're not going to let it linger and worry about it the rest of the afternoon. You can go to bed that night in peace, in a relaxed body, in your power. And the skill of letting go allows you to separate your feelings from facts, people, governments, tyranny, and all the other situation that goes on in the world, and then also allows you to separate yourself from narcissists, from violators, perpetrators, people who don't qualify for your time, non-qualified buyers who tell you what they think you want to hear, who pathologically lie to you. You don't personalize it. You don't make it about you. You're able to let them go easily and effortlessly and attract your reality on a more higher occlusal alignment, people who deserve your time and energy. And when you live in that power, you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feeling. You are virtually wiring a new set of neurons that wire and fire that form your feelings in higher consciousness. And in this state of consciousness, relapsing is not an option because you're not in your ego anymore. You're in your higher consciousness, knowing that the pleasure isn't worth the pain. And in that state of recovery, there are no temptations. You're not tempted by a treat or a snack or a shiny object. You're not tempted by relapsing and telling yourself it's a cheat day and I'll make up for it later. You're not tempted into avoiding what you should do, telling yourself you're going to do it later. You're a multitasker on command and produce results in a relaxed body. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. My name is Jeffery Combs, President and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. An absolute privilege and pleasure to be here with you on a beautiful Tuesday in Central California. Good to be here with all of you. Good day and afternoon.